During the game in Cincinnati, Nathan and I, before that final drive, said this is kind of Shedeur's closing argument, if you will, for 2026. How did you view it?
Yeah, I thought it was a great...
I'm sorry, for 2025.
Yeah, I thought it was a great situation for him to be in, because you look in a game where he was scuffling. It wasn't one of his stronger games, certainly early on. It's like, hey, can we get settled and get the team in scoring position to win the game? And he was able to do that. And I think, look, you're not always going to have your fastball every week in the NFL. It's too hard. Defenses are too good. But the fact that he was able to do that and lead us on a scoring drive when we absolutely needed it, certainly a positive.
I ain't never lost. Never in my life.
What's good, NevaLoss fam? I appreciate all y'all for tuning in. It's BDB. Hey, listen, today we got to talk about Andrew Berry on the Bark Tank podcast, man. He did a sit-down interview. He said some key things, man, that I want to point out about Shedeur Sanders and his future with the Browns, and also what he was able to accomplish in this short time with those 7 starts, man. We're going to tune in, hear some of the positive things he had to say, and I'm going to let y'all know what this means for Shedeur Sanders' future. Let's check it out real quick.
Andrew Berry, the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, joining us in the Bark Tank. AB, you said it on the podium. You and I had the conversation earlier as well. Considering Kevin is, in your words, family, how difficult have the last 24 hours been?
They've been incredibly difficult, Andrew. Kevin is pure-hearted, awesome person. And then when you layer in everything that he's done for the organization, it makes today a very, very difficult day. But these are also some of the hard decisions that we have to make if we're going to advance the organization forward. But that doesn't change my personal affinity for him.
It's always been a what have you done for me lately business. That's the way the NFL goes. Organizationally, how do you weigh the first 4 years with the past 2 in making this decision?
The past 2 years we haven't won enough, and I own that. And as we're in this period of transition, as we're trying to rebuild the roster core, our whole focus is making sure we can take the steps necessary to build a perennial winner.
Yeah, the biggest thing with the Kevin Stefanski firing is. He's supposed to be an offensive-minded coach, and I can't think of one time during that tenure where the offense was a top 10. They're like super dominant as an offense, or even, when they had Baker Mayfield, they had some sparks where they was putting up some numbers, but it wasn't crazy. They never were averaging 25, 30 points a game, and it never was one of those top upper echelon offenses, and I just don't understand how he's so highly touted as a coach. Well, I understand the coach. He won 2 coaches of the year, so I understand that he was able to get Cleveland to the playoffs twice. But there's been some talks about him being an O coordinator, even for the Lions, and I think that's crazy as hell because his offense has never done anything that make me believe that his play calling ability and the schemes that he run up is something special, especially good enough to be on my Lions. But yeah, for whatever reason, everybody is beating the drum, saying that he's definitely a surefire head coach in the league and a top-notch offensive coordinator at the very least. And I just haven't seen the offensive prowess that everybody else has seen.
What does Andrew Berry look for in a new head coach? You're going to do interviews, you're going to sit down, you're going to cast a wide net, I would have to assume. When you sit down across the table from a candidate, what do you want to hear and see?
Yeah, so it's first and foremost a leadership position, and it's a leadership of a number of different constituencies: the players, the assistant coaches, the support staff, the organization during times of crisis. And so you're looking for someone who has that level of leadership range. And then secondly, it's a partnership. It's a partnership with ownership, with the front office, with the general manager, and because you're really building the team and building the organization together.
It's a relationship. It's funny you use that word. Obviously it is, but I've heard others in the past describe interviewing a candidate as kind of like dating. Like you know in a minute or two, you get a feel like, all right, this is the one. Would you draw that parallel?
I personally would not.
Okay.
And the reason I wouldn't is because we've often looked at like hiring hygiene, and oftentimes
what does that mean, hiring hygiene?
Like good process with hiring, and oftentimes the interview can be overweighted when you're making those decisions. That's not to say that it's not important, but it's maybe a little bit like what we do with players, where our scouts, they go out and they talk to everyone who's worked with them, knows them intimately, things like that. We get 15 minutes at the combine. We may get another a day at a site visit and everything like that. And some of the mistakes that you can make with the makeup are if, hey, they had the flu that day, or they're really energetic or really charismatic, but that doesn't actually get to the essence of their character. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's a lot more of the information that we collect in the aggregate than just solely the interview.
How will the quarterback question affect the head coaching search?
Well, it's certainly something that we're going to talk about a lot with the candidates, but it's maybe a little bit less on their particular view of the quarterback situation and more about their thoughts and planning for it.
And what would I know you mentioned Shedeur up on the side, on the podium rather, what would you like to see his offseason look like, and what have you seen these last 7 weeks building towards 2026?
I'd like to see him continue to make progress. He got valuable reps this year, starting 7 games. I think he's got to continue to make progress with his pocket management, his situational awareness, things like that. But you'd like to see him take a major step forward going into week 1.
During the game at Cincinnati, Nate.
So key things that he said, man, pocket management, situational awareness, key things. But he said, I want to see him improve on that going into week 1. Hey, listen, I feel like he just let it slip out just a little bit, man, going into week 1. That means right now he's pushing his poker chips to the middle of the table, man. And he like, man, Shedeur is going in as a starter, man. Now, I'm going to tell y'all some key things Shedeur did to make this possible. I already believed that Shedeur was an Andrew Berry pick by how excited he was from that very first preseason game. He got the start in where he cooked up. And then Andrew Berry came all the way down the field, shook his hand like, yeah, man, you making me look good. And after that, Kevin Stefanski put him with the scrubs, man, with the scrubs. So, hey, I think Shedeur got a great shot at being the week 1 starter. And then we'll go over it as this interview wraps up. I'll talk about it a little bit.
And I, before that final drive, said this is kind of Shedeur's closing argument, if you will, for 2026. How did you view it?
Yeah, I thought it was a great...
I'm sorry, for 2025.
Yeah, I thought it was a great situation for him to be in, because you look in a game where he was scuffling. It wasn't one of his stronger games, certainly early on. It's like, hey, can we get settled and get the team in scoring position to win the game? And he was able to do that. And I think, you're not always going to have your fastball every week in the NFL. It's too hard. Defenses are too good. But the fact that he was able to do that and lead us on a scoring drive when we absolutely needed it, certainly a positive. Finally,
you have a timetable in your head. I know you're going to find the right guy. That's the most important thing. But realistically, would you like to have something done before Mobile, before the Combine? What does that look like?
I mean, yeah, I guess in a vacuum, you'd like to have...
Combine, certainly, obviously.
But I'd say this. To me, it's more about hiring process and hiring the right person than the timing. I think... You think about Indianapolis a couple years ago, where they thought they were hiring Josh McDaniels. That changed at the last minute. They pivot to Frank Wright. I think that happened right at the Combine. I think they went and won 11 games that year because they found the right individual. So we're not going to be bound by artificial time barriers. Obviously, you'd like to have adequate lead-up time into some of the league events, but if we don't, it's more important to find the right person.
I lied. Last thing. Message to the fans would be what?
My message to the fans is we know how difficult this year has been, and we appreciate the loyalty, the passion, the commitment to the team, regardless of what we're going through, and that's something we will never take for granted. My commitment to you all is to make sure that we find the right leader and build the right roster that allows us to have perennial success.
Andrew Berry, thanks for jumping in the Bark Tank.
All right.
Yeah, hey, shout out to the Bark Tank, man. Shout out to the Bark Tank. Hey, listen. Hey, Andrew Berry, man, he said some key things. I believe he supports. He is a Shedeur Sanders supporter, and he's doing everything in his power to push him to the forefront, give him the best opportunity to be the starter going forward for the Cleveland Browns. Man, he know the opportunity that he was given by Kevin Stefanski was completely bullshit, unfair. You know, he made the nigga jump through barbed wire and hoops of fire just to get an opportunity to play, you know, one down in 2025, man. And I feel like he did some things to really help his case, man. Biggest thing Shedeur did was win those 2 games. Even in those last 2 games, they weren't even the best performances by going and beating Pittsburgh and then closing it out, beating Cincinnati, 2 of your rivals, man. And also almost knocking Pittsburgh out of the playoffs, which if he did, that would have been even crazier. But Ravens missed a field goal that would have knocked them out. Shedeur Sanders showed that he can win in the NFL. He already showed that he can make plays. He already showed that he was mobile. Only thing left on the bingo card was to show, hey, I can win games in the NFL, man. If my defense comes to play, I will not lose you the game. If you think about all the games that Shedeur played in, how many games was the defense playing? You know, they was the number 2 ranked defense when Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco was playing. When Shedeur was playing, they were one of the bottom worst defense. They was giving up so many points, man. He put up 31 points, I believe, against Tennessee, and they lost that game. That's insane. Shedeur put up 4 touchdowns in that game, and they lost the game. Why? Because the defense just didn't come to play. San Francisco, the defense wasn't doing enough. It was a cold game. You know, there was just things that I believe if Shedeur Sanders had his disposal, the O-line, you know, if they wasn't so beat up, you know, he would have won way more games. If he'd have got the reps and just got timing right with the receiver, he'd have won way more games. And I think Andrew Berry see that, man. Him winning those last 2 games was a great way to make his case for being the 2026 starter. And if you think about it logically, that they're not about to go out and spend. They got limited money already. It makes no sense to go out and spend a bunch of money on Malik Willis or trying to get the backup for San Francisco. I don't know why I can't think of his name. Yeah, so it makes no sense to go out and try to spend a bunch of money on a veteran quarterback that you may or may not start week 1. It makes no sense to try to trade up in the draft, especially to me with none of the quarterbacks even being solidified. Except for Mendoza's the only one that I believe, you know, I don't think he's going to be as good as people think he's going to be. I think he's going to be an average quarterback because I just don't think he's faced a whole lot of pressure in Indiana as far as blitzes and as far as just the lines breaking down, man. He got a solid line in Indiana. So I think overall, once Mendoza has to play under pressure, you know, without a clean pocket, I don't really know what he can do because that doesn't happen often in Indiana, but we'll see. But as a quarterback in this draft, he looks like the best one. But talent-wise, I think Dante Moore has more talent, but Dante Moore has said he's going back to Oregon for another year. So you'll see over the next couple months, they're going to start beating the drum for Ty Simpson out of Alabama. That's idiotic. He is nowhere near the quarterback Shedeur Sanders is. Mendoza isn't either. But they're going to start pushing Ty Simpson out to the forefront that the Browns should get him with that late first-round pick. I hope they don't do something that dumb, but I don't think they will. Overall, again, Shedeur Sanders winning those last 2 games was the best thing he could have do to secure his starting spot in 2026, man. Hey, it's BDB NevaLoss Pod. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. Like, comment, share, subscribe, man. Hey, I'm on my road to 500 subscribers. Then we trying to get to 1,000, man. Please be the one to hit that like button to help me get there. BDB again. I'm out of here.